Sorry, Mr. Wiseman. All right. Ms. Grzynkowski.
Here.
Ms. Ryan.
Here.
Mr. Dimick.
Here.
Ms. Dodd. Not here. Ms. Cotter.
Here.
I'm here. And Mr. Wiseman.
I'm here also.
Present and accounted for.
Thank you very much. Everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You have before you the agenda for this evening. Could I have a motion to accept the agenda as presented?
I'll motion to accept the agenda.
I'll second.
All right. Motion made by Ms. Grzynkowski and seconded by Ms. Pastana. Could I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Ms. Grzynkowski.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Ms. Cotter.
Yes.
Ms. Ryan.
Yes.
Mr. Dimick.
Yes.
And Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
All in favor.
Thank you very much. Next is communication reports. I'll keep this brief. Items from the board president. A couple things. First of all, I always like to make a comment as it relates to public comments at board meetings. The Board of Education recognizes the value of public comments on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on district matters. This is not a time for a conversation, but it's an opportunity for us to hear from the public. In the back by the door is a citizens participation form. If anyone in the audience would like to speak to the board, please fill this out and pass it on to Mrs. Hill at the end of our table. At that point in time, if you have something that you would like to make comments on as it relates to agenda items, we have a portion of the agenda for you to speak. And then at the end of the meeting, there's a item as it relates to public comments regarding non-agenda items. So please take advantage of that. A couple things since the last time we met. Several of our members of the Board of Education attended the Winter Institute that was offered through the Michigan Association of School Board. The Winter Institute was held virtually all day on Friday, and it ran through Saturday and Sunday also. The general session was entitled "The Spectrum of School Security, Which Option is Right for Our District?" Virtual learning opportunities and classes were available to Board of Education members, including such topics as school district safety and security, culturally competent leaders, and parliamentary procedures, to name just a few classes offered. A reminder also to the public that the Board of Education's forum is being held tomorrow and Wednesday, March 7th and 8th from 6 o'clock to 8 p.m. Tomorrow, the forum will be held at Muir Middle School. That's tomorrow. And on Wednesday at White Lake Middle School. This is an opportunity for any of the public to talk to us individually, one-on-one, about things that are on your mind. On Wednesday, Member Dimick on Tuesday, Member Dimick and Member Cotter and myself will be there. And on Wednesday, Ms. Ryan, Ms. Pastana, Ms. Grzynkowski, and I believe Mrs. Dodd, along with myself, will be at White Lake Middle School. This past week, Dr. Salah and myself, as president of our board and representing the board, began our site visits that will continue throughout the year. It really gives us an opportunity to meet with staff, meet with administration, and most importantly, meet with our students. We met at Harbor High this past Thursday, and we have meetings, I think, almost every week that we're going to be visiting various schools. So look forward to that, representing each and every one of us. And I know all of you are ambassadors to your own schools too, and you're spending a lot of time at those schools. And I know this is March's reading month, and I know Member Dimick had an opportunity today to read to a third grade classroom over at Heritage Elementary. So I appreciate that, and I know we all do. So thank you very much. And with that, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is recognition. So with that, Dr. Salah.
Good evening. While many students spend their holiday and winter breaks enjoying their time with their family, going someplace warm, or just resting and relaxing, One student, Jacob Jenkinson, a sixth grader from White Lake Middle School, dedicated his holiday break spreading holiday cheer to seniors and children in our area. Here are just a few of the many things Jacob did. He helped senior residents decorate their homes for the holidays and distributed 20 trees for memory care residents who would not have had any sign of Christmas if it wasn't for Jacob and his team. He also worked with Build a Tree for the Kids event, which helped put together 800 tree kits that included tree, garland, and ornaments, so no child in the area would go without a tree for Christmas. And this was not a one-time effort for Jacob. Since 2019, he has been donating over 1,400 tabletop Christmas trees to seniors and children in our area in hopes of spreading the holiday cheer. So Jacob Jenkinson, who is here tonight, where did you go, Jacob? All right, come on up, bud. You are tonight's Huron Valley hero. Please join board member Amy Grisomkowski up here so you can get your well-deserved award certificate.
Jacob, we as Huron Valley Schools and the Huron Valley Board of Education are so proud of you. What you have done for the seniors in our area and the children in our area is not only inspirational, but I think for all of us, you set an example that we all need to emulate. And you're only in 6th grade. So proud of you. But on behalf of the board, I would like to present your Huron Valley Hero Certificate and thank you for being a wonderful example of the wonderful kids in Huron Valley. You're welcome.
Did anyone have any questions or comments for Jacob on the board?
Any comments? Jacob, thank you. You have impacted so many people within our school district, within our community, and you are a special young man. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. No, I'm good. I apologize.
You don't have, you're a man of few words, but we'd like to have. You can have a picture with the superintendent. Next, Dr. Salah is school presentation, Spring Mills.
Thank you, Mr. President. This evening, I have the pleasure of introducing Ms. Bentley, the proud principal of Spring Mills Elementary School.
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much for having us tonight. We are all very excited. I have with me this evening some super sharks that are 4th and 5th graders, and they are Lexi Morris and Colton Romeo, who are in Keely Amos 5th grade class. And we've got Bryce Kidd, Ethan Burns, Lucy Hunter, and Lucy Augustin, who are in Mr. Stern's 4th grade class. And with that, I'm going to pass it to them and let them tell you some great things that are happening at Spring Mills.
Good evening. Good evening, and thank you for having us at your meeting tonight. We have a lot of great things happening at Spring Mills Elementary. One of the most important things that we do is focus on the 3 main expectations: be safe, be responsible, and be respectful. All of the guidelines that we have are focused on these characteristics. We can earn Sharky Stars every day from any adult in the building when they see us doing these things.
Each week, a star is drawn from each grade level. That student is called down from time to get a prize from the bucket in the office. Also, our teachers can nominate us for being the Shark Superstar of the Month. They nominate us for showing great character and going above and beyond and being safe, respectful, and responsible. A lot of times we get nominated for just doing kind things for others.
One of the things... I gotta pull it down. One of the things Miss Bentley always talks with us about is being kind to others, so we all decided to participate in the Great Kindness Challenge. The Great Kindness Challenge was created by the global nonprofit organization Kids for Peace. It started when 3 schools in Carlsbad, California, reached out to them for help to create a school environment centered around compassion, kindness, and connection, and also to combat bullying. This year was the 12th annual challenge. Every year, more schools throughout the world have enrolled to participate. It has grown to over 19 million students in more than 37,000 schools in all 50 states, and also in 115 countries. We have been a part of the challenge for the past 2 years.
The week before, we watched this video to help us understand what the challenge is and give us ideas for things that we could do to spread kindness. Take a look to learn more about the Great Kindness Challenge.
The happiest week of the school year is here. Students just like you from all over the world are about to take on the Great Kindness Challenge. Are you ready? The Great Kindness Challenge is all about celebrating kindness in a way that makes every student, every teacher, and all staff members feel loved and appreciated. This all started 12 years ago with just 3 schools in Carlsbad, California. Now, there are over 37,000 schools with over 19 million students participating all over the world. This year's theme is Grow Kindness. When you're kind to someone, it makes them want to be kind to someone else. And seeds of kindness end up spreading everywhere. So, how will you grow kindness?
I'll grow kindness by completing all 50 kind acts on my checklist. I'll grow kindness by smiling at everyone I see. I will grow kindness by helping my custodian. Mr. Danny, can I help you?
Sure. Thank you.
I'll grow kindness by doing my happy dance. I'll slip a note in my friend's backpack. I'll grow kindness by thanking my teacher.
On their own, these small acts of kindness might not seem like they make a big difference. But when a lot of people do a lot of acts of kindness, it all adds up. When we work together, our kindness has the power to change the world and make it a better place for everyone. So, let's get out there and do as many kind acts as we can. Be creative, have fun, and remember...
And it all begins with you.
The happy...
After we watched the video, every student got a checklist. The checklist is full of all sorts of kind things that we can do for others, like I grew kindness by complimenting 5 people, making a new friend, learning something new about my teacher, helping a younger student, and bringing a flower to the office staff.
We also had dress-up days, like Monday, Team Kindness, wear your favorite team apparel. Tuesday, Dream of Kindness, wear your PJs. Wednesday, Hats Off to Kindness, wear a hat or a headband.
Thursday, Peace, Loving Kindness, wear tie-dye. Friday, Sharks Choose Kindness, wear your spring wheel shark gear.
Other things we did that week include kindness coins. Each class got a coin to pass to other students at
as they did something kind. Kindness quote of the day. Every day over the announcements, Miss B read a kindness quote. Some of the quotes were, no act of kindness, however small it is, ever wasted. Choose to be kind over being right, and you'll always be right every time. Kindness is seeing the best in others when they cannot see it in themselves.
We ended the week by turning in our Great Kindness Challenge checklist. A student was selected from each grade level to receive a gift card for ice cream to celebrate all of their acts of kindness. Overall, it was a great week. We learned that kindness can grow and grow.
Kindness can beat hurtful comments.
Kindness is true beauty.
One act of kindness, no matter how small, makes a difference.
Kindness never leaves your heart.
You should be kind to anybody, no matter who they are and how they treat you.
To close, we would just like to say thank you for your kindness and in serving on our school board. We hope you enjoyed our presentation. Here are some Sharky stars to celebrate your kindness.
All the way up there by Dr. Sola. There you go. Thank you very much. We really appreciate the opportunity to share some great things at Spring Mills and some wonderful students here to share that with you. So if you have any questions, I'm sure they'd be happy to answer.
Yes, I bet you there are some questions or comments. So we'll start with Mrs. Pastana.
I don't think I have a question, just great job. You guys knew exactly what you wanted to say, and I think we could all really feel it. So I appreciate it. Thank you, and thanks for the Sharky Keekering.
Thank you.
Amy?
I just want to say I'm so impressed with the way you were able to speak so clearly and tell us about what you did for that whole kindness challenge. Could you maybe give me some ideas of some of the things that you personally did to show kindness to your classmates and your teachers?
Okay. We, like I said, we tried to learn a couple new things about our teachers and hold the door for someone behind us and carry someone else's books or read to a younger student.
Was it pretty easy to be kind?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well done. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Thank you very much. Did an outstanding job. And I'm sure this kindness, you're always kind to your principal and your teachers, right?
Yes.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good answer. Yeah. Very impressed. Thank you very much. At this point in time, we have quite a long agenda. I always offer to everyone in the audience the ability to stay, but if you'd like to leave, you certainly are more than welcome to, and we'll go into a short recess so that you can, if you choose to. We'll re-adjourn in a few minutes.
our Spring Mills kiddos that were here today. They did a fantastic job, as you might expect. I've got a few things this evening. First and foremost, we had some pretty interesting weather over the last couple weeks. I don't know if anybody lost power, but that's never a fun occasion. The 2 days of ice storms and then the really heavy snow last week. And the reason I mentioned that is because I just wanted to take a moment and give a shout out to our maintenance and operations team. Truly. We had some building power outages as well. I mean, the amount of work and the late nights and frankly, the overnights. I don't know if you know this, but some of our M&O folks, the ones who clear their grounds, they literally sleep here. So they'll take little small cat naps in the storage building over there and jump right back in their trucks and start clearing snow after a couple hours. They're just amazing, and they get it all clear so that we can not only have school, but like this past weekend, Friday night, they were salting and clearing parking lots so that we could have our first robotics competition as well as our gymnastics competition at the high school. So just extraordinary work, and I just wanted to pass along my congratulations. Jeffrey, if you wouldn't mind passing that along to the team as well, I'd really, really appreciate it. Second thing to share, March is Reading Month. So as Mr. Wiseman mentioned, I know several board members will be in buildings reading to kiddos. It's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to see our kids and see them interacting with one another and with their teachers. I got a chance today to read to Miss Boer's class at Heritage as well as Miss Hocksted's class. Miss Boer's class is a 4th grade class. I got to read one of the dinosaur books. I don't know if you remember those from when your kiddos were young, but I love those books. I used to read them to my own children. And also in Miss Hocksted's class as well. And the kids were they're wonderful. And it was really, there's nothing better than getting in classrooms and interacting with kids. To mention on top of that, we are, as a district, it's March is Reading Month, and we are a AAA school district. So, there's obviously a heavy focus on academics, but the arts and athletics are also equally as important to us as a school community to create well-rounded individuals that can go out and be really successful in the world of work. There is just so much going on that I'm going to run through a quick list. Milford High School boys basketball 2023 Lakes Valley Conference tri-champs. We got Milford High School boys bowling team, first time they ever made it to state finals, which is just really incredible when you make it to states for anything. The level of competition is extraordinarily challenging. Friday and Saturday, we hosted the first robotics competition, and no surprise, our 67 hot team prevailed in that competition. I have to tell you, I had a chance on Friday to spend some time there, and I think this robot may have been one of their best pieces of work just to date. I've attended the last several years and had a chance to see them in a couple of different competitions. The intricacy around this particular robot that they built was just amazing. And so I just give it up to those kids. Just really did a remarkable job. Also this weekend, we had the Triangle Factory Fire Project. Unfortunately, I did not get to attend that, but that's a drama performance hosted and it took place here at Milford High School. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't mention our girls competitive cheer team who went to states as well, and they took 6th place. So just a ton happening, not only in the academic space, but also in the athletics and the arts. Let's see here. A couple other things onto my more formal agenda items. March 16th is our kindergarten orientation. That's an exciting time of year for us because we get an opportunity to meet our future kiddos and parents as they're thinking about where their children are going to attend school next year. We're already seeing huge interest this year. We have an interest form that we put out, and we're really pleased at what we're seeing to date. So we have a quick informational video that we wanted to play for our listening audience, for those who have not had an opportunity to see this little commercial for kindergarten orientation. So when my kids were starting school, I remember wishing I knew what their day looked like. So I want to give you a quick snapshot of the day in the life of an HVS kindergartner. When our new friends arrive, they start by hanging their coats in their lockers and preparing to start an amazing day. They begin with a morning meeting where they start to explore the days of the week, weather, schedules, and time management or current events. We all know that the basic building blocks of literacy are so important. So next, we launch them into phonemic awareness practice. Our goal is not only to teach them the literacy basics, but to make them want to be in school by providing a very high level of engagement for each and every lesson. After phonemic awareness practice, we launch into reading workshops. We like to keep our early students in print-rich environments as much as possible, whether this is digital content or reading books. We all need a reset throughout the day, so after reading workshops, our students will have what we call a brain break. Then we head into reading aloud because our early learners actually need to hear what reading sounds like. After that, it's time for a quick snack before heading into our writers' workshops. Writing and fine motor skills are so imperative at this age. At the halfway point, our students head to lunch and recess for a midday reset. After recess, our students make their way to any one of our specials planned for the day. This could include art, music, physical education, or they could spend a little time learning about some new type of technology. At HVS, we don't forget about numbers. When learning mathematics, our curriculum helps students learn many ways to count big, add, subtract, and solve story problems. Toward the end of the day, we head into another structured brain break before we teach them about science and social studies, depending on the day. Our district is also big on social emotional learning, so we have included some developmentally appropriate and structured free play time right at the end of each day. And after free play, it's time to head home. But we want to remind you that at HVS, we are family focused. So we do offer before and after care at our elementary campuses. You can learn about our care options, our junior kindergarten programs for students who may benefit from a 2-year program, and any other kindergarten information by heading to our website. Thanks for taking a quick tour of kindergarten at the Huron Valley Schools, where we are inspiring and building futures one student at a time. That video with our kiddos. That was Lakewood Elementary School. Our kids are just so engaged in learning. You know, one of the things, if you go back and rewatch that video, we've done so much work in our buildings through the 2019 bond, and I just was checking off all of the vibrant colors in our classrooms, the latest technology, the access to Chromebooks, the revitalized scene in our hallways even, you won't go wrong with the Huron Valley education. So for any who's watching this, if you want to experience an exemplary educational opportunity, then you won't go wrong by picking the Huron Valley schools. So before I turn it over to my last item here, which is going to be the first and second quarter budget amendments, I just wanted to do a quick update on safety and security. That has been a huge focus for us throughout the entirety of the school year. Last year, we hired a third-party consulting firm called Recon Management, LLC. Recon specializes in doing security audits, not only in in the school sector, but also in they do this work sort of internationally. They do it in private company as well. As you can imagine, their portfolio is rather full on the heels of some of the latest tragedies we've seen in public schools alone. So we had Recon do some work for us last year. They published some findings for us to think through and process. We made some tweaks to our security protocols and our emergency operating procedures over the course of this year, specifically around visitor management protocols. Now that we have vestibules safe and secure vestibules at all of our elementary schools. We made some tweaks with that dynamic. We've asked Recon to come back in now that we've implemented many changes across our buildings over the course of the last year. They're going to come back in and do sort of a post assessment of our protocols and just give us an update by building. How are we doing with some of the recommendations that were made, and is there anything else that we should be focused on? I want to take just a moment. We've had a few things over the course of this year. We had a bomb threat here at Milford High School. We recently had a BB gun at Lakewood Elementary School. I think it's important for me to just take a minute and say, one, I'm incredibly proud of our students and our staff because they handled everything precisely as they should be handled. This most recent incident at Lakewood Elementary School, in the span of 7 minutes, we had a report of something that should not be in our buildings, 2 staff members that acted promptly, locker search and recovery. At no point were students in threat or in harm's way. Police were contacted immediately. The building went into what we call a shelter in place, which is not the same thing as a lockdown. A shelter in place is designed to keep our hallways clear. It worked exactly as it should, and it gave us as a school district an opportunity to collect further information so that we could communicate with families. I just can't emphasize enough how proud I am of the training that we've put in place and the way with which our students and our staff responded in that situation. So with that said, coupled with the Recon management post-audit, I think we are in very good stead as a school district, and I look forward to where we go next as far as continued focus on school safety and security. I would also mention goal number 5 as part of our strategic plan, and just so our listening audience knows, we actually have these laminated copies of our goals that were adopted in December of 2022. Just as a reminder of our focus as a school district, goal number 5 is safety and security, and that is that the Huron Valley Schools will create a culture of safety by leveraging best practices in specific school security focus areas. Safety and security will continue to be a focus of ours minimally for the next 5 years as we continue to use bond dollars to make improvements and continue to improve behaviors in general. And so with that, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Van Gotham, who has a first and second quarter budget amendment presentation that he will share with the board. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Dr. Salas. So again, in keeping with Spring Mill's theme on kindness, I'd like to say that over the last couple of years, one thing that can also be said about the Huron Valley School budget is the state of Michigan has been relatively kind to us. So with that being said, we'll take a look at, move it to the next screen for me, Parker. So as you can see, the highlighted column is the original budget that the board approved in June of 2022. And we have the prior 2 years of audited results, which again showed a revenue over expenditures of $6.9 million and $2.2 million. The original budget this year was calling for expenditures over revenue of $4.2 million. And after we go through the several slides on amendments, I'm happy to report that, our amended budget shows a $600,000 expenditures over revenue, which is much better than the original proposed and approved budget. Next slide, please. I apologize. And the writing is very, very small here for the presentation, but to highlight briefly, and again, the board has received this well in advance of the meeting. Thank you for that, Parker. The biggest kicker is that, we received an additional $150 per pupil in our per pupil foundation allowance. Again, when the board has to approve this budget in June of 2022, or really in June of any year, in a lot of cases, the state hasn't finalized even the budget that's going to be applicable to schools. So the board, as well as, their consultation with this team, really just takes a recommended dollar amount and places that in the budget as a placeholder until we get our actual funding confirmed. So it's a good thing that we're able to add $150 per pupil, which increases $1.2 million to the budget just in per pupil funding. Another good thing about this budget is we had additional students from our original projection, 127 to be exact, and that provided us with an additional little over $1 million in funding for the school year. So those are the two biggest items in this revenue enhancement, if you will. We have a UAAL rate stabilization, which is an in and out for revenues and expenses. We had some overall special ed funding that was increased, local property taxes. We were able to, as a result of having a better than expected fund balance over the last couple of years, we've been moving excess dollars into a sweep account that takes place on a daily basis, and that's provided us with almost $200,000 in revenue this year, which is a nice benefit by having, again, a little bit larger fund balance than we typically have in years. And then again, as a result of the state's effort, a little bit of additional monies in voc ed funding, about $75,000 to be a little closer to the actual mark. Next screen, please. And this is the expenditures piece. So again, for the first part of the year, a couple things. We have moved some expenses from grants that have been allocated to us over the previous couple of years back into general fund. And so we had made an estimate on what that would look like and had to increase those dollar amounts a little bit from the original estimate. We had a little bit more in utilities in the current year than budgeted. We did bring some virtual learning tuition back into the budget that previously wasn't accounted for. We did have negotiations with our transportation department this fall and had a little bit more expenditure as a result of that negotiated contract. A little under $100,000 in new copier lease adjustments. We did sign with the new copy lease company this past year. We had some increased transportation supplies, again, from the original budget. That was under $100,000 as well. We are fortunate that we're able to move some money into grants, a little under $400,000 there in 11T and at-risk monies, and some additional monies, again, under $100,000 from expenditures last year that are able to be covered by this year's grants. It's also important to note here, while it's not at the level of $100,000, we are saving a little over $20,000 in the current year as a result of not needing state aid note funding. So the last several years, as our fund balance had been on the lower side, we had borrowed money to make payroll and some of our other expenses. And over the last year, we've been fortunate that we have not had to use a state aid note to help with our funding, and that saved us just a little under $20,000 for the year. So I think that was important to note. Again, you're seeing the revenue adjustments of 4.8 and the expenditure adjustments of 1.2. So if you could go to the last slide for me, Parker, thank you. You're seeing the amended budget at a $3.6 million difference from 4.2 to $600,000. And again, when you're looking at a $97 million, $96 million budget, anytime you can, get that revenue or expense adjustment to within 1% of your total funding, I think you're doing a pretty good job. So I think it's a hat off to the Board of Education for really paying attention to this and monitoring it on a quarterly basis, and then obviously making adjustments when more formal information like the actual student count and actual revenue numbers are in place. So happy about this result. Again, like I said, as a result of my friends from Spring Mills, I think the kindness piece plays into our budget amendments this year and has been for the last several years with the budget. So I'm happy to report where we're at as of December 31st of this year. Thank you.
If I could, Dr. Salah, Board of Education, any questions, comments? Yes, Mr. Dimick.
Just a quick question about the, you mentioned how we were able to move some of the funds into grants. Could you maybe just detail a slight bit more about what that actually means or entails?
Yeah, so on an annual basis, again, as we hit the June of really the budget season, if you will, we have an idea of what type of grants will come through the state of Michigan or from the federal government. And so we make a guesstimate on what we're able to pull out of general fund to be accounted for in grants. And so, again, we try to be conservative with that. But what takes place is sometimes we add money back into the general fund if the grant funding wasn't perfectly lined up the way we wanted to. So in this particular case, we also were beneficial in that we pulled $500,000 out of what would have been general fund expenditures into grants that, weren't even official till we passed the original budget. So it's really a timing thing, Jacob, and that can be said with several of these transactions, just like the large revenue adjustments that we made. Really just a timing of when you as the board has to make decisions on approving an original budget versus actually knowing what's going to come into play. And that can be as early as the second week in July, so 2 weeks after the budget's official, if you will, to the student count, which isn't until really the first or second week of October. And that's a couple months away. So is that helpful?
Yes, very much so. Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, we'll be kind. Yes, Amy?
Oh, the only thing I was going to ask, and maybe you can explain for the people who are listening, most people, when they make a budget, it's just a budget. But when a school makes a budget, it's a little bit different because these amendments that you're making every quarter, and you're coming to us and saying, okay, we have to change this. We have to change our revenue and we have to change our expenses. Can you explain why we do that?
Yeah, so the school district was required by the state of Michigan to approve an original budget. And again, like we talked about, that has to be done in the summertime before a lot of these transactions are really known. And so it's required of the board to make amendments so that they, as well as the district itself, has the idea of where they're at throughout the year. So I like to think of the budget as perpetual, Amy, versus, periodic. It's a constantly moving target, if you will. And so every time we have the opportunity to capture kind of where we're at in the year, it's important for the board, as well as the school district in general, to kind of see where we're at, because fortunately, we kind of knew some of these things and we're hopeful that this would move in the direction that it did. But on the off chance that these numbers were not kind, we would have to really look as a district to see what we would need to do for the rest of the year. Because if this is a real negative budget, and that has happened in the past, we would have to look at what opportunities we have for our students and if and what we might need to scale back on for the latter half of the year. So it's very important that the board does this on every couple of months to quarterly to semi-annually basis, because we live and breathe by this, and it's essential to what we do with our day-to-day activities as a district.
Anything else? A couple things. Number one, I think it's worth noting once again that we have to adopt a budget in June when we do not know the two biggest drivers of our budget, and that is student enrollment and what our foundation is. Last year, that foundation allowance, which is the amount of money that we receive per student, we did not have that information when we had to adopt the budget by law. The state's budget goes from October 1st to September 30th. Ours goes from July 1 to June 30th. So that causes some challenges. So I appreciate your expertise as it relates to that, where we were in a position that we budgeted conservatively but accurately. Like you said, we're within 1%, and I wish my household budget was as good as that, quite honestly. And at the same time, I think it's also important to note that our budget is a living, breathing document that really reflects the goals and objectives of the school district. It's more than just numbers. It really shows where we put our money. And if you take our budget and compare it to other districts throughout the county, we are not only in line, but there's a heavy emphasis above and beyond what most districts have as it relates to instruction and what's going on in the classroom. So I think that's also important to note. The other thing that's important to note is that we do this, as you were saying, Amy, on an ongoing basis. This is the first and second quarter amendments, and we will have a third and fourth quarter amendments leading up to June 30th, because that is required by law. So we're constantly taking a look at our budget, keeping an eye on it, being strong, because these are the hard-earned dollars that our community takes out of their pocket to support our district. So I congratulate you. I don't have to be kind, because you guys do a great job on an ongoing basis, and I appreciate the administration for all the work that you do as it relates to this budget. And I think it's also important to note that this budget is under consent, and it's a consent agenda item because this is something that we do on an ongoing basis, and it's nothing unusual. So with that, is there anything else, Dr. Salam?
That's all we have. Thank you.
All right. Next, is there any student leadership tonight?
Yes, we have the International Academy. Maya, go ahead.
Outstanding.
Hello, everyone. My name is Maya Azado, and I am the Senior Leadership Representative from International Academy West. I just want to share with you all some of the things we've been up to. I especially want to talk about an event we just had called CUBE. So CUBE stands for Knowledge, Understanding, Beliefs, and Experiences. And it's an event in which we invite students to give TED Talk style presentations for the entire school community. They can speak on really whatever they'd like to. So it's a really great chance for them to share something they're passionate about, something that interests them, something that excites them. And it's also a really great opportunity for them to develop their public speaking skills, because they are giving these presentations in front of our entire school, which I think is really impressive. So we had our CUBE auditions back in the beginning of December, and this was really just a chance for our CUBE advisor to approve the topics that the students wanted to speak on. And then after this, the students were paired with senior NHS members who served as their mentors for the rest of the process. And then starting after winter break, we started meeting, the mentors and the speakers, as well as our CUBE advisors, started meeting about once a week, sometimes once every 2 weeks, for CUBE rehearsals. And these were obviously opportunities for the speakers to rehearse their speeches. And then the mentors and our advisor gave them guidance, gave them feedback. However, a really important part of CUBE is that it's an opportunity for the students to say what they want to say. So our guidance really focused on helping them effectively communicate what it is they wanted to communicate and enhancing their delivery of their presentations. This is an aspect of CUBE that I really like. I love that it gives students a voice and helps them develop that voice for their future endeavors. We had our event just a couple weeks ago, right before midwinter break. Everyone gathered in the Center for Performing Arts, and each of the speakers in turn went up on the stage and gave their presentation. We had 6 presentations. So we had one about space exploration, one was about neighborhoods and cookie cutter housing, one was about happiness and the question of what is happiness. One student talked about her life as the youngest child in her family. Another girl talked about her hatred for country music. And then we had 2 students work together on a presentation about vampires, which was pretty good. So we had a really great variety in our speeches, which was a lot of fun. It was really fun to hear what everybody had to say. It's also just, it's really impressive. We have like the fancy CUBE background, and the speakers have their headsets, and it really feels like you're at a TED Talk conference, which it's just really cool. It's really impressive to see our students up there doing that. It makes me really proud of all of them. And it was a really great event. And then I have one other thing I wanted to share, which is unrelated to CUBE, but we have an exciting event coming up tomorrow night. We're hosting our very first annual International Academy Tri-Campus Dodgeball Tournament and Senior Dinner. So International Academy is a tri-campus school. IA West, obviously, is here in the Huron Valley District, but we also have IA East and IA Central. So we're coming together tomorrow at Lakeland High School, which is IA West campus, for a dodgeball tournament and a senior dinner. We're getting Highland House for the senior dinner. We're really excited. I think that we as schools are connected in many ways, but as students, we don't really know each other that well. We don't have a lot of interaction. So I'm really excited about this event. I think it's going to be a great way for us to come together and get to know each other before we graduate together in June. I also think it's an important step in general towards building the tri-campus community. So I'm excited about that as well. And that's pretty much all I've got for today, but thank you all for listening.
Exciting times. Thank you very much. Any questions? Thank you again.
I did have a question,
go
but
ahead.
just a comment. Just Maya, I just want to say your delivery and presentation was amazing, and it's you set the bar high. So I may be coming to you for some advice. You
Thank
did
you.
very well.
Thank you. It's that Huron Valley education, really.
I'm interested in this first annual dodgeball. Did you say? So what's that all about?
So we're going to have a tournament. So every school is bringing a couple dodgeball teams, and then we're all going to have a big dodgeball tournament.
Really?
And see which campus wins.
Do you have uniforms? Do you have costumes?
We're going to
that you're
have
wearing?
T-shirts. We have T-shirts. So it's pretty official.
You have teachers?
T-shirts.
Oh,
like shirts.
T-shirts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can the board bring a team?
What?
Can the board bring a team?
I don't know.
But yeah, it's going to be fun. We're really excited. And IA West is going to win. Definitely.
Good. That'll be a lot of fun. It's a great idea. It's a great way of bringing all three campuses together because geographically you are spread apart, but you have one common goal. And the work that all three campuses do all lead to tremendous success and tremendous opportunities. And we're very proud to be part of that within the Huron Valley Schools.
Thank
so
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
for
We're
the
very
great work.
proud to be a part of Huron Valley Schools. Thank you.
And Dr. Salah just whispered in my ear and said that he was going to be there. So let's get some pictures of him
Yes.
dodging the balls. I know he dodges a lot of things as superintendent, but I've never seen a superintendent play dodgeball. And maybe there's an opportunity that we could play dodgeball, the board against the superintendent of this team. Maybe, the board against Coat. Maybe this could be something that we could do.
Challenge accepted.
That sounds like a great team building. Great team building exercise.
Yes, it would be. Yes. I don't think it would be a 7-0 vote based on body language I'm getting. So we'll have to have some discussion about that.
We'll let you know how it goes.
All right. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next, tough act to follow, association communication.
All right, I don't have any TED Talks, and we're not talking about dodgeball, but I have an exciting thing to say.
Well, we are doing negotiations. Maybe dodgeball would
That
be a
is
good
kind of like dodgeball.
Yeah.
Totally like dodgeball. Absolutely. I'll bring that up our next negotiation meeting. Jeanette and I are on it. So, no dodgeball and no TED Talks, but this week is National School Social Work Week. So as a current school social worker, 2 days a week at Kurtz, I'm really excited that I get to celebrate this week alongside my social work colleagues, and our district gets to celebrate all our school social workers and everything that we do each day for our families and our students and our staff. As supporting the social emotional needs of our students has been a really big focus over the past 3 years, our jobs as school social workers has become even more demanding. Meeting the current mental health needs of our students is so important so they can come to school each day to learn. Partnering with community resources is vital as our social workers manage the complex needs of our students and families. Our social workers are dedicated, creative, knowledgeable, and passionate. They help students regulate their strong emotions. They problem solve with students as they are managing the ups and downs of those friendships, and we know that's tricky. They teach coping skills and mindfulness practices to ease anxiety. And they partner with our building special education teams to evaluate and support students. And they've done all that by 10 a.m. Our school, she says yes. Our social workers come to school each day because we know our jobs have value within the district, and our students need the unique services and skills that we provide. Each time this year, the Michigan Association of School Social Workers announces their region winners for School Social Workers of the Year. And I am so excited tonight to share with you that Ana Moreno, school social worker at Johnson Elementary, was named this year's Michigan Association of School Social Workers Region F, Oakland County School Social Worker of the Year. Ana has been a dedicated social worker in Huron Valley since 1995. Nancy Williard, social worker at Country Oaks, shared that Ana is a driving force within our cohort, district, and community. She does an incredible job with best practices, and knowledge of community resources. Ana is well known for her clinical expertise as well as for her devotion to the students,
families, and staff that she serves. Advocating for others is at the heart of what Anna does each day. In addition to her work at Johnson, for many years, Anna has been a mentor for some of our new Huron Valley social workers. She is the epitome of a mentor, as she is kind, caring, approachable, and extremely knowledgeable. She creates a welcoming environment for our new social workers, and she relishes in building relationships with them. We are grateful that Anna is part of our Huron Valley staff, and her knowledge and passion has been recognized beyond the valley. And in fact, our Huron Valley school social workers are a standout group in Oakland County, as Anna is the 4th social worker from Huron Valley in the past 9 years to win the MASSW Region 7 School Social Worker of the Year. She's following in the footsteps of Nancy Williard from Country Oaks in 2014, myself in 2017, and most recently, Brian Dawson from Harbor and White Lake in 2019. So on this, the very first day of National School Social Work Week 2023, I want to say congratulations to Anna on a most well-deserving recognition, and to say thank you to all of our social workers across the district for your time, energy, passion, and dedication that you show to our Huron Valley community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I know that Board of Education also appreciates, respects the work that our social workers do day in and day out. All right, next, the Treasurer's Report. Ms. Cotter, seems like we've already had somewhat of a Treasurer's Report with the addendums. All right, I'll let you go first.
I don't have any correspondence, but I wanted to thank Mrs. Hill for doing the lamination for our strategic plan. This was a great idea, and she did all the work, so I wanted to thank her for it. That's why I didn't want to be missed.
Well, I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Wiseman.
No problem. Treasurer's Report?
We have no written report tonight.
All right, thank you. Reports from the Board Committee. I will report on our Executive Committee. The Executive Committee met on March 1st, 2023 at 1 o'clock in the Huron Valley School Administration Building. The meeting was called to order at 1 o'clock. Present were myself, along with Member Pastana, Member Dodd, Dr. Salah, Barb Rothler, Martin Lindberg, and Shannon Loso. There were no public comments. The Exec Committee met and reviewed the board agenda that's before us today. Martin Lindberg discussed the Ames website and had the opportunity to share a typical principals agenda. He walked the committee through the agendas that are out there, the hyperlinks, and the website designed to support our principals throughout the year. There was a food service update provided by Dr. Salah, who shared an update regarding the wage scale that was presented to the board on February 11th, and conversations were positive, and we're working through that as part of the board agenda tonight. Safety and security, Dr. Salah shared that Barb, John Reeby, and himself had an opportunity to meet with Raycon management to arrange the follow-up audit that Dr. Salah talked about earlier, and facility utilization. And an overview was provided to the members of exec as it related to Plant Moran Cressa's interview, and a plan will be brought forth for the board to consider at a future board meeting. We also had a strategic plan update that Secretary Pastana talked about. The Oakland County resolution shared, Dr. Slash shared the resolution from Oakland schools that would generate dollars to support filling the gap for students as it relates to the lunch program. And the meeting was adjourned at 3:25, and our next meeting is, I believe, next Wednesday, March 15th. TLT Committee.
TLT met February 5th, 7th. It wasn't a Friday, at 3:30. Present were myself, Ms. Cotter, Mr. Dimmick, Ms. Dodd. They were kind of, each was at half of that meeting. Mr. Tavernier, Dr. Salah, Mr. Lindberg, Ms. Gilbert, Ms. Thompson, Dr. Nemeth, Mr. Wisnick, Ms. Cadell, Alexis, and Maya. There was no public comment. We talked, Mr. Lindbergh and Mrs. Gilbert provided an overview of the 5-step curriculum revision and review process, which includes visioning, developing, piloting, adopting, and global review. The use of a Gantt chart in each subject helps to guide and balance the work and budget across departments. We tabled the intervention team item to the next meeting. Dr. Nemeth provided an overview of the benchmark assessments followed by the district. Assessments are required in the fall and spring of each school year. As part of the continued learning plans, the district has established 2 goals for student growth in both reading and mathematics from the fall to the spring assessment. The committee also reviewed a subgroup data. Under safety and security, Mr. Wisnick shared the search for a replacement solution for the walkie-talkie radios used district-wide. District is planning to expand existing infrastructure to support additional radios. Mr. Vernier and Mrs. Thompson reviewed the traumatic event crisis intervention plans. These plans support crisis response teams throughout the district. There were no consent agenda items. Dr. Nemeth and Mr. Lindbergh met with student leadership to discuss developing a targeted program that partners gifted elementary students with gifted high school students. And then we had Alexis and Maya discuss student leadership. Alexis had shared a concern by Milford High students about AP classes that were canceled or not consistently offered every school year. And she was happy to hear that AP Pre-Calc will be offered at Milford next year. Maya shared the IA West excitement for the upcoming CUBE event that she spoke about tonight and their annual Winter Olympics this Friday. And we adjourned at 5:02. Our next meeting is tomorrow, March 7th at 3:30.
Thank you very much, Secretary Pestana. Finance and Operations.
The Finance and Operations met on Wednesday, March 1st at 9 a.m. at the admin building. There was no public comment. We spent the majority of our meeting on consent agenda items that we will look at tonight, as well as some new business. Consent agenda items included the first and second quarter amendments, where we looked at the variances in revenue and expenses. We were able to ask questions and get clarification. We looked at the state and federal grant budget for 2022-2023, which would include an $11 million in revenue, $71,500 from the 2021-2022 expenditures. And we are asking that the Board of Education approve both the first and second quarter amendments, as well as the state, federal, and grant budget tonight. We had new business that we looked at regarding the approval of food service wages, which we were given their rate schedule, as well as their retention bonus suggestions, and that will also be, we will look at that tonight for the Board of Education will look at that tonight. We also reviewed all of our safety and security updates with Clark Construction, and we reviewed how the contractor badge procedure would work, as well as the sign in and sign out. Dr. Salah and his team talked about their visit with Recon Management, and that we would be receiving a complete written report with their findings. In addition, we spoke with our construction team and had updates for Bid Pack 4 and 5 and what punch lists would be completed during the spring break. We looked at Bid Pack 8, which is they're just finalizing the submittal process to begin installation at LHS and MHS, that is door and locks. Bid Pack 9, those contracts have all been issued, and submittals right now are ongoing and coming in daily for review and submission to our TMP. And they're still meeting weekly with principals to get information and input for the construction that's going on at our high schools. Bid Pack 10 was talked about, which is our transportation bus wash replacement equipment. Bids are on the street and due Friday, March 10th. We also talked about our EV program. The Mr. Van Gotham met with the HOT team, and they would like to talk to us about potentially having EV stations throughout the district. We also discussed the building utilization facility feasibility study. The administration has met with a couple of different vendors, and one in particular they looked at to establish a timeline for mapping out the district, utilizing tools to calculate construction and redefining the scope, because when they came to us, it was a little bit of a template plan, and so we wanted it to be much more custom. So we talked about the fact that we have to evaluate our facilities, but in addition, we also are going to be looking at innovative planning as a parallel conversation, as well as building utilization. We are looking for some future discussion items, including what does that innovative programming look like with potentially our HOT robotics team, and how can we incorporate some of their corporate sponsors and resources into these efforts. Our meeting was adjourned at 10:48 a.m. Our next meeting is the 15th of March.
Thank you very much. Next is communications, marketing, and legislation. Communication and marketing specifically, I know Member Dodd is not here, and she's the chairperson. If we do not have a report from any other members, do you have the report, Barb? Then you have the floor.
So the Communications and Marketing Committee was called to order by Laura Dodd at 3:34. Members present: Laura Dodd, Amy Grisomkowski, Michelle Ryan, Barb Rothler, Dr. Salah, Kim Willis. There were no public comments. The regular agenda, we included the food service update where Dr. Salah informed the committee, similar to all of the committees that we've already discussed. Dr. Salah, along with Laura, Tom, Mr. Wiseman, all went to Lansing that Tuesday to talk about school funding in our district. So we were informed. They shared with the committee what they discussed in Lansing on that visit. Dr. Salah talked further about suggested breaking down the budget, looking more closely at how the money is spent, including our transportation costs, and allocating and coming up with a proper marketing plan so we can share that with our community so they understand exactly how, as Jeffrey describes, each time that money, that per pupil, and how that is spent. So the Marketing and Communications Committee is working on that and hope to have a first draft of that very soon. We talked about the junior kindergarten and kindergarten parent orientation, where the HV Promise video is finalized, so that will be shown at the orientation night, as well as the video on the orientation. The bags that each kindergartner receives was packaged up, and the delivery to the elementary schools is taking place and should be pretty much complete, if not already done today. We further discussed making our upgrades and changes to the HVS website, building out some of the pages more, making it more user-friendly, as well as creating videos that will make it one-stop shopping for our community to find things and the key points to continue to make it user-friendly. We kicked off our mental health resource, which we discussed there's new mental health resources on our website, as well as the virtual March 8th that will be taking place. I know Ms. Grisomkowski asked a few questions regarding making sure local professionals, that specific virtual is not necessarily professionals from our district, but on our website, as we continue to build it out, we'll be including local resources so parents can reach out, not to mention all of our incredible resources that we have in our school district, in our schools, as we just talked about earlier today. The annual report, the communication has gone out to all those principals. The deadline for the paperwork is this Friday, March 10th. So when all that data is collected, we will be putting that together to make sure that is out there for the public to see as well. And we talked about Dr. Salah doing a State of the District address for our HVS TV as well as our website. So once we get all that information, we'll create very similar to a State of the District so our community as well can be informed on everything that is going on. We talked about a couple different social media pricing updates on some of the different programs out there in attempts to continue to further our strategic plan of making sure that we keep community and marketing as a top priority and making sure that we're communicating with our district in the best way possible. Let's see what else. HVS school data, Ms. Grisomkowski, I believe, brought up a couple examples of other schools that are really looking at their points of pride and how, as we see week after week, and we have so many of them in our district, and to make sure that we make them clear to our community on what are the elements that make HVS different than others. And so the communications department is working on that as well to make sure that Troy, Scott Rolando, and looking at ways to take our HVS studio, which we do consider, a point of pride of something that not all districts have, on how do we really look at changes that are needed to make it a more of a working studio and to use it to further our brand, and more importantly, as a teaching resource for students for their video classes and other elements. We did adjourn at 4:42, and our next meeting is April 5th at 3:30.
Thank you very much. Next on our agenda is public comments. We allocate 15 minutes to have the audience or our public discuss any agenda items. Agenda items are in boldface on our agenda. Mrs. Hill, we do not. The only one we have is a non-agenda item. Okay, so you wish not to speak at this point in time? Okay, yes, because we don't have anything on agenda items, we're going to move this up. And you can go ahead and speak now. Mr., I'm going to mess up your name, Capacio? That was close. All right, with that, go ahead. Could you please state your name, address, and school district?
No problem. And my son goes to Lakewood Elementary. So the topic I wanted to discuss was school safety and teacher safety. I know we touched on the school safety portion as far as external threats, but I'm wondering what is happening for internal issues. Within my son's classroom, every single week I hear about situations where the class has to clear out due to student disruptions, and the student is throwing things around the room, and it just continues to happen. And I'm very concerned because it's taking away from my son's education, and I'm really curious what is going to be done about that. Like, what are the actions that the school's actually taking to make sure that one student isn't taking away from the rest of the class's opportunity to learn? We've been very concerned about this, and we've spoken with other parents, and from what we're hearing, the disruptive student actually is also harming teachers, which is a major concern. I was a former educator, so I used to teach in an alternative school. It was actually a high security prison. Safety is a major thing. I was assaulted by a student. And when I hear about these things, it really concerns me for my son. Like, I don't want him to be in that situation. And since I continue to hear about it, it seems like there isn't actual actions being taken. So I'm very concerned about this.
Excuse me. I appreciate your comments. I'll turn that over to Dr. Salah and Mr. Tavernier, and they'll circle back and have some further conversations with you as it relates to this topic. So I appreciate that.
Okay, because it just really doesn't feel like there's actions being taken. And like I said, I'm a former teacher. I've left the education field, and a big part of that is that when these situations were happening and I was a teacher, I did not feel like there was the support. So I'm also concerned about how the teachers are going to react to this.
Sure.
Like, almost all the young teachers, the really skilled teachers I worked with, have left the profession. It's a major issue within our country, and it's a major concern I have for moving forward and just how we're going to educate our youth. Because unless there is that strong support from leadership all the way up through the school board, we're going to lose teachers. And the teachers I've met at Lakewood are great. I mean, they care a lot. And if they don't feel like they are being supported and they have to deal with that day after day, we're going to lose them.
Well, thank you very much for your comments. Appreciate it, Dr. Salah.
Thank you, Mr. Kapashi. I just want you to know we are well aware of the situation you're referring to, and I can assure you we are absolutely 100% tuned in and working to come up with viable solutions. It would not be appropriate for me to discuss any other student other than your own with you. So I'm going to ask Mr. Taverner to follow up with you and have a phone conversation with you tomorrow just to have a little more, to go into a little more detail. That would be appropriate and legal to do. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Next, consent agenda. We have exhibits A1, A2, and A3, approval of minutes, first and second quarter budget adjustments that were presented along with state and federal grant budget for 22-23. Do I have a motion? Motion made by Secretary Pastana. Second by Treasurer Cotter. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, let's have a roll call, please.
All right. I'm a yes. Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Dimick?
Yes.
Ms. Grzymkowski?
Yes.
And Mr. Wiseman?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Unfinished business, network electronics purchase, Exhibit B. Dr. Salah?
I'll turn that over to Mr. Tavernier.
Yep. So at our last board meeting, under new business, we brought forward this request for network electronics. So each district building has equipment that connects our district data system. We are looking to replace the core switch here at Milford High School. This was part of E-rate bid that was put out back over in the winter months, and we're bringing this forward with a recommendation for the Board of Education to approve the award of network electronics and installation to Intercom TSG as presented.
This was presented at our last board meeting under new business.
It was.
And you had an opportunity to ask questions at that time. Is there any other questions that we have at this point in time? Any comments? Seeing none? Could I have a motion, please?
Yes, I move that we move forward and approve the network electronics purchase as presented.
Do I have a second? Second by Member Dimick. Any other questions? Seeing none, could I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Mr. Dimick?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Ms. Grzymkowski?
Yes.
And Mr. Wiseman?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Under new business, approval of food service wages. Normally, we go through an new business and then unfinished business prior to a vote. But past protocols and past practice as it relates to wages, we go directly into a vote as it relates to this. So with that, Dr. Salah.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Wiseman. And that's largely because we're asking the members to ratify or approve through the bargaining process a contract. And for our listening audience out there, we work with the Board of Education who establishes parameters for us that we operate under before we bring something back to the board for approval. And with larger contracts, we tend to have closed board sessions where we go into specifics around negotiations. And so what you have before you this evening is updated wages for food service. I'll go through this real quickly, and if Mr. Van Gotham has anything to add, I would invite him to do so. On February 11th, you received an email communication with me that walked through the detail as it related to current wages and proposed wages. I shared that we are offering a $350 retention bonus for food service workers because that market space has become incredibly competitive. And in order to keep our people on board, we found that would be a beneficial strategy. We compared wages against school districts that are contiguous to us, as well as industries with which we're losing. We were losing employees to. I think it's also important to note that we have a $1.8 million surplus in our food services account, and these increased wages will allow us to spend down without touching the general fund. So we're asking for your approval of the updated scale. Mr. Van Gotham, I know I just stole your thunder. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, I'm good. I appreciate the summary. I think it's very accurate to, excuse me, where we're at on the project. I appreciate the board's support, and I think it's important to note that the board has heard, this isn't the first time they're hearing of this, and we were fortunate that through committee reports this evening, every single one of the committees is aware of what's taking place and has seen this information prior to this evening.
And I did follow up. Mr. Dimick we did not meet as a TLT. I did reach out via text, and he was comfortable, and I did contact Ms. Cotter on Friday afternoon just to make sure that she didn't have any questions. So all board members have heard this information on a couple different occasions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the update. Prior to me asking for a motion, does anyone else have any questions as it relates to this? Anything that needs to be clarified? Seeing none, may I have a motion, please? Motion made by Secretary Pastana. Do I have a second? Second by Treasurer Cotter. Can I have a roll call, please?
I am a yes. Ms. Cotter,
Absolutely, yes.
Ms. Grisomkowski,
Yes.
Ms. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Dimick,
Yes.
and Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Public comments on non-agenda items. I had that, we moved that item up. Does anyone have any other comments as a non-agenda items? Seeing none. Good and welfare. Mrs. Pastana.
So I have a list. Some of them have already been talked about, but it's always good. Good things happening, so I might as well repeat it. So first was the robotics tour by the HOT team over at GM. I got to go with Mr. Wiseman and my husband. Another great year, another great tour. So, and congratulations, obviously, to them. I was at the robotics competition on Friday afternoon, evening, I can't remember. And that was great. I also on Friday went to the Milford High School Student Art Show, and I would encourage anybody that has a chance to go. It was fantastic. It was at the Huron Valley Council of the Arts. It goes through March 9th, and you'd be blown away on the amount of items that people did. It was amazing. On Saturday, I went to the Triangle Factory Fire Project play, another just fantastic event showcasing how great our students are. And we are so lucky here in Huron Valley. You know, there are a lot of days that you hear complaints, especially as a school board member. And, but when you see what the kids are doing academically, socially, arts, athletics, I mean, I can't say enough. It was great. Next thing, Rec and Ed had a winter dance. I think it was last Saturday, the Saturday before. They had over 400 attendees come to that dance, which was great. The HOT team and the theater department, Milford Theater Department, helped them out. So I know Miss Loso was thrilled that she got that help. And then the last thing is the Huron Valley Community Coalition, that we're so lucky to have them here. If people will notice, they've got posters throughout the schools, and they've delivered them, and they're just nice, positive messages, I think, to remind all of us, you know, what's happening and that we should be mindful of those things. So sorry my list was so long, but it's great things.
No apologies. Other good and welfare. Yes, Amy.
I just want to say thank you to our counselors. I know that at the high school level and even at the middle school level, we're looking at schedules for next year. And when you think about the sheer number of schedules that they look at and are going through with all of our students, I appreciate the work that they do. I appreciate the fact that our students know where they stand in terms of graduation. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for doing such an amazing job for our students.
Other good and welfare? I have just a couple. One, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Salah real quick. We had an opportunity to go up to Lansing and really focus on what was going on in Lansing with our legislative body, really focusing on what our priorities are in Huron Valley. and what could be done in Lansing for our students and for our community specifically. So maybe Dr. Sly, you spend a couple minutes on that.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Wiseman. It was a productive opportunity to visit in Lansing. We met with our legislative consultant. We had an opportunity to meet with the governor's office, Stephanie O'Day, who is the policy advisor in education to the governor. Myself, Mr. Wiseman, Ms. Dodd, Ms. Grzymkowski, all made the trek to Lansing. Our primary focus was in three categories in particular. One, transportation. Many of you sitting around this table have heard me talk about transportation. We spend about $1,100 of our $9,100 for every child that we transport to and from school every day, just to get them to and from school every day. We drive to Europe and back. That's the number of miles our buses drive every single day to get our kiddos to and from home to school. About 52% of our students are transported. That's roughly 4,200 children. So 4,200 children times $1,100 per pupil is roughly $4.5 million a year that is pulled out of the classroom, spent to get our kiddos to and from school. There are some school districts in Oakland County that do not provide transportation. They spend their full $9,100 allocation on teaching and learning. It is our belief as a school district that the state should be picking up the cost for the transportation of our students to and from school. It shouldn't come off the top. There should be equity across our state in terms of the dollars that go towards providing an education to our kids, not just driving them to and from school. So that was a major focus for us. Second, special education funding. Ms. Dodd did an outstanding job at the last board meeting walking through her visit to Washington, D.C. and sharing some of the statistics as it relates to special education funding. We are grossly underfunded as a state. We expend roughly $2 to $2.5 million out of our general fund just to ensure that our special ed kiddos receive a high quality education that they deserve. And last, we talked with the governor's office about declining enrollment and suggested that there should be some sort of focus or categorical to support the 90+% of school districts across the state of Michigan that continue to see declining enrollment as a result of declining birth rates. So the governor's office shared with us that their focus, especially in this current budget, is on universal pre-K, as well as universal food service support, meaning free breakfast and lunch for all children in the state of Michigan. So stay tuned for that. I think everybody felt it was a valuable conversation. We referenced the School Finance Research Collaborative. For those of you who are not familiar with that study, it essentially articulates what it takes to educate a child to mastery of standards in the state of Michigan. That dollar amount, for those who are interested, is about $10,500 just in general education support. And they just recently did an addendum to that study, which says it costs roughly $950 per pupil to transport. That's above and beyond the $10,500 that we should be receiving. Right now, we're at $9,100. And while we're grateful for the increase we saw last year, it's still a far cry from what we need to educate to mastery of standards. So,
thank you very much. Appreciate the update. The other thing that under good and welfare, I believe it's next Tuesday. It's a day without students. With your permission, Dr. Slough, maybe Mr. Torunier could bring us up to speed on what's going to occur that day. The students are going to be home, but we're going to be very, very busy that day.
We will be. So next Tuesday, I believe it's Pi Day, March 14th, is a professional learning day for staff. So a portion of the day will be spent with our building and district-wide cohorts. So Think of all of the third grade teachers, all of the fifth grade teachers, all of our secondary science teachers will have an opportunity to get together and work on curriculum and assessment items. We will have some time also for our collaborative inquiry team. So that is the work that we've been doing throughout the year, this year. And so there'll be some time for that. And then also our staff will have time back at their building. So there'll be some building-based school improvement work that'll be done next Tuesday. So I know all of our staff and administrators are looking forward to having that time.
So it's a full day of professional development.
Indeed.
Super. Great. Thank you. Anything else for the good of the order? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.